What is up, YouTube? Welcome to PanFro Games. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing some of the best builds that you can build today to defeat the upcoming 7-star Kommo-o raid for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. These builds are going to include some solo builds, some builds for online, and some builds that are support. Of course, guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and support my work by becoming a channel member, and let's dive in. Now, here is my raid overview for the Kommo-o raid. Like I said, this is a predictions video, so we won't know for sure, but this is what I'm preparing for in the raid guide. So Kommo-o has two really good abilities, and we don't know what ability he's going to have. Bulletproof and Soundproof. Soundproof makes it immune to sound-based moves, so you can't do like a Sylveon Hyper Voice. But I do think it's going to be Bulletproof, because Bulletproof makes it immune to bullet and bomb moves. And did you know that Acid Spray counts as a bullet and bomb move? So this Pokemon's potentially immune to Acid Spray, which is definitely problematic because we do want to target its special defense. Considering its special defense is 105, and that's its lower defensive stat compared to his defense at 125. So that is something we got to keep in mind in this raid video. But overall, it does have really good stats. You know, 110 attack, 100 special attack, meaning it's probably going to be a mix attacker. And it has 125 defense, 105 special defense. Now, it's not the fastest thing with 85 speed and 75 HP being its lowest stat. However, this Pokemon does have two signature moves and is most likely going to use both of them. So the first one is actually going to be Clangorous Soul, which is a setup move. Now, Clangorous Soul is going to take up some of its HP and it's going to give it an Omni boost, aka a boost to every single one of its stats. So +1 attack, defense, special attack, speed. So it's going to be getting the super +1 boost. And in raid bosses can use this boost and they don't lose half their HP. So it can just take a little bit of damage from that bar and get a +1 boost. I do think the raid will probably start with Clangorous Soul, which is going to be terrifying. So we're going to keep in mind that we're probably dealing with a +1 Kommo-o for the entire raid. Now, his other signature move is Clanging Scales. This is a special dragon move that deals 110 damage that will lower his defense by 1. This move we gotta definitely keep an eye out for. So I do think fairy types are gonna be great in this because you're gonna be immune to dragon. And fairy types also resist fighting, which this is a Terra fighting Kommo-o. So I do think for fighting moves, Aura Sphere and Brick Break are probably the two most likely. For dragon outside of Clanging Scales, it's probably gonna be Dragon Claw or Dragon Pulse. Now it does get steel type moves to cover for those fairies. It does get Iron Head and Flash Cannon, so keep that in mind. It also does have Poison Jab, so another way for it to deal with fairy types as well. And psychic types. How does it deal with psychic? Well, it does have Throat Chop, which will also make it so Pokemon can't use any sound-based moves. Earthquake is a good general move. Seems like all these pseudo legendaries have Earthquake, so I just figured I put it on here. And how does it deal with any of the flying type Pokemon? Well, Ice Punch and Thunder Punch both work. There's also like Rock Slide as well. But in general, it has a lot of great moves and is going to be a rough Pokemon to get through. And if it doesn't have Clangorous Soul, then I can see Dragon Dance and Swords Dance and Bulk Up taking up for some buffing later in the raid. And now for the best attackers. In the regular Slowbro build that I've showed on this channel so many times, may be in fact the best raid build for this raid. So you're a Psychic type, so you're going to resist fighting, which is going to be really nice. And you have a lot of great bulk in general. We're going to go Terra Psychic with the item Shell Bell. Max special attack, max defense is what I'm running with a modest nature. We may have to change up the stats a little bit. And I have own tempo. Doesn't really matter what your ability here is. But we're going to go with a stored power set here. And stored power does damage based on our stat buffs. So Iron Defense is going to give us +2 defense. That actually makes stored power a 60 power move. So you can see how this is going to rack up in damage. When you're at +6 defense, +6 special attack, that's going to be a crazy amount of damage from stored power. And it's stab, it's Terra boosted, it's super effective. It's going to do a lot. And we also have Chilling Water on this set. This is just going to lower the physical attack of the Kommo-o. So it's going to allow us to take some hits a little bit better. And it's going to build up our Terra charge. So I do think Slowbro is going to be a very good build in this raid. Now, if you want to try something a little bit different, but it's the same flavor, Slowking Galarian is going to be really good. So Poison and Psychic makes it so you're 4 times resistant to fighting, right? So that's even better on the defensive side. And we're going to have the Terra Psychic with the Shell Bell. Max special attack, max defense here. Your ability doesn't really matter. So the big difference is Slowbro has better of a defense stat than Galarian Slowking. But Galarian Slowking has a better special defense stat, so that's what we're picking between here. But the big thing is also Slowking here has a better special attack too. So that's another thing to consider in this. So the other big difference is because we're a poison type, we do get Acid Spray. If the Kommo-o does not have Bulletproof, then Acid Spray will be great. If it does have Bulletproof, then you're going to change Acid Spray to Chilling Water. And essentially, it's going to be the exact same build as a Slowbro. We're going to be using Stored Power, but we want to boost up our defense and our special attack with Iron Defense and Nasty Plot. So another flavor of the Slowbro King family there. So a raid classic that we saw in the very first 7-star raid of Charizard. Fluttermane was an absolute beast in that raid. And Ghost is immune to fighting. Fairy is immune to Dragon. So you're immune to the big stab moves in this raid. And we're going to have the Terra Fairy and the item Metronome. So I'm running max special attack, max defense with a modest nature. The issue is Fluttermane has base 55 HP in defense. So this thing is really frail on the physical side. So Kommo-o, if it has Iron Head or Poison Jab, it could be cooked. To be fair, we're not weak to Poison Jab. We are weak to Iron Head. Poison Jab is neutral because we're a Ghost type. But if it does have Iron Head, we could just be dead. So this build essentially relies on, does it have Iron Head and does it not? So if it doesn't, then I think Fluttermane actually has a chance of being the best. And Fluttermane with Metronome is going to do a lot of damage with Draining Kiss. Draining Kiss is going to do damage and is going to give us back HP. With Metronome, it's going to do 10% damage every single time until it caps at a bonus 50% as long as we do it in a row. We also have Fake Tears, so we could start the raid with Fake Tears, Calm Mind to boost our special attack and special defense, and we have Taunt. Taunt's going to allow us to prevent any sort of setup moves. So if it, let's say, it doesn't use Clangorous Soul on turn 0, use it on turn 1, we outspeed on turn 1, we use Taunt, doesn't use Clangorous Soul, we're good. So there's a good option there. Now, if you don't have Fluttermane, the old Sylveon build could work. I don't think this build will solo, but I do think an online play Sylveon has a chance. With the Terra Fairy and the shell, with the Metronome item, with the I'm running max HP, max special attack, modest nature, just because I do think, you know, HP is also a very valuable stat. You can go max defense as well. You want the ability Pixelate to turn normal type moves into fairy type moves, and that will make Hyper Voice into a fairy type move. Now, if you are going to run a Hyper Voice Sylveon and you don't want to use Draining Kiss, then you're going to switch Metronome to Shell Bell, and you could do Shell Bell with Hyper Voice. But this is the same build as the Fluttermane, Metronome, Draining Kiss with Fake Tears, and you have Calm Mind. So this build essentially can work out 2 different ways depending how you want to play. Now, Pokemon I haven't shown off on the channel for a minute is Espathra. Espathra is really frail, but really fast, and actually really strong with his signature move. So it's a Psychic type with Terra Psychic and the item Shell Bell, max special attack, max defense with a modest nature. Now I'm going to be running the ability Opportunist. Now Opportunist is interesting. Let's say the Kommo-o goes for Clangorous Soul. We actually copy that boost, so we will get the Omni boost as well. So if it goes for that, we can use this ability. Now for some reason, if it doesn't do that, well, you can also switch the ability to Speed Boost and get +1 speed every turn, because we are going to be running a Stored Power set, but it's going to be a little bit different than the Slowbro and Slowking I showed off earlier. So our signature move is Luminian Crash. This is a Psychic type move that lowers the target's special defense by 2. Goes through shields as well. So -2 special defense every time you hit with it. You can send this Kommo-o to -6 pretty quickly. And then once, you know, let's say you hit him he's at -6, and you got the Omni boost from him, then you could go for Stored Powers at that point, because Stored Power would be doing more damage than Luminian Crash, and that would be incredible. We also have Calm Mind to boost your special attack and special defense if you want to do that, and we also have Reflect. We might actually need to put up Reflect because their defense is pretty frail. I don't think this Pokemon can solo, but I do think with a good support ally, I think this Pokemon can be really good. Now, sort of the dark horse of this raid is Clefable. I think Clefable is just a really underrated Pokemon, and it's just really strong because of his ability. We're going to go Terra Fairy with the item Metronome, and the ability Unaware. Unaware is going to make it so we ignore the target stat changes. So if it goes for Clangorous Soul and boosts up all its stats, well, we just ignore it, and that's awesome. So we're going max special attack, max defense with a modest nature here, and this is going to be a Metronome build. So Metronome, Drain Kiss. We're just going to be spamming Draining Kiss and hopefully just win the raid like that. Potential solo there. We have Reflect to give us some little bit of a defense boost for 5 turns. Calm Mind, increase our special attack and special defense. And we have Protect on the turn. When he removes our ability, we can use Protect. So we keep our unaware essentially on that turn we Protect, which is really nice. Now for a couple of mythical options. Mew is a great generalist, and a lot of people have Mew. And I think Terra Psychic Mew with Shell Bell is pretty solid with the max HP, max special attack, modest nature. Now, I am running Acid Spray. Once again, if it's bulletproof, Acid Spray will not work. But if it doesn't, then Acid Spray, Psychic, Nasty Plot is going to be your standard. Chilling Water, lower that physical attack. I do think this Mew could potentially work, but like I said, if the Kommo-o has bulletproof, this will not work. So keep that in mind. Now, Magearna has a great opportunity to solo here. So Magearna, Fairy type, obviously immune to Dragon, but you're going to be neutral to fighting until you hit that Terra Fairy. We're going to go with that Metronome item. And max special attack, max HP is fine. With a modest nature, your special defense and your defense are the same stat. And your ability, Soul Heart, is amazing in solo because when the raid allies faint, and they faint a lot, you get a special attack boost every time they faint. So what you're going to do, for the most part, is you're going to spam Draining Kiss, and with Metronome, 10% damage until you hit that 50% damage mark. And then, while you're doing this, your raid allies are going to be dying, Soul Heart boost your special attack, and you just sort of win the raid like that. I think this is another great opportunity to solo here. You also have Iron Defense, so you could go turn 1 Iron Defense to give yourself a little bit more defense, especially if it goes for Clangorous Soul. Metal Sound, if you feel greedy and want to lower that special defense by 2. And Calm Mind to increase your special attack and special defense by 1. The typical Arceus build, Terra Fairy I think is overall the best here because I'm immune to Dragon and you're going to be resisting fighting. Pixie Plate to make you a Fairy type. Max HP, max special attack with a modest nature. And this is your standard Arceus build. Once again, Acid Spray won't work if it does have bulletproof, so keep that in mind. If it has bulletproof, then I probably would not recommend Arceus in this raid. But Chilling Water, this Judgment will be Terra Fairy, and Recover is going to be good enough in general. Now, the one Pokemon, one physical attacker I'll show off here is going to be Annihilate, because Annihilate is immune to fighting because you're a Ghost type. And I think Terra Ghost Annihilate is actually going to be really good with Rage Fist spam. So Terra Ghost, Shell Bell, and max HP, max attack, Adamant Nature. If it lowers any of your stats, you're going to get a +2 attack boost from Defiant. And essentially, whenever you take damage, Rage Fist does 50 more damage. Even when you die, those stacks stay, and it caps at 300 power, which is pretty incredible. So how you play this Pokemon is super easy. You're going to turn 1 Focus Energy, turn 2 Rage Fist until you win the raid. And that's sort of all you need. If you want to, you can go for a Bulk Up, to give you +1 attack, +1 defense, and Screech on turn 0's potential as well to lower that defense by 2. But overall, crit with Focus Energy, Rage Fist spam with Terra Ghost could be a really solid way to win this raid. Now for the best supporters, and I have a couple to show off. There's always going to be so many supporters, but I do think Galarian Weezing may be the best overall. Poison and Fairy is a really great combination. You're going to be immune to Dragon, and you're going to 4 times resist fighting. So defensively, you're going to be amazing. And Terra Fairy with the item Shell Bell. Now, I'm running max HP, max defense with a plus defense nature. You're going to be able to take a lot of hits, and you're going to have the ability to Levitate, so you're immune to all ground type moves if it does have Earthquake. So essentially how we're going to run this is Acid Spray to lower special defense. If it's bulletproof, you're going to remove Acid Spray, and you can put something like a Taunt here instead. The big thing is Clear Smog. So if he does go for Clangorous Soul in turn 1, Clear Smog it. It's gone. All his buffs are gone, and just keep him debuffed with the Clear Smog, and it goes through shields. Now, we can use Will-O-Wisp to burn him after that to cut his attack stat in half, so you're forcing him into special attacking moves as well. And then you do have Strange Steam, which will be Stab, Terra boosted, and super effective, and it could, do 90 damage and do a pretty decent job. I do think Galarian Weezing is actually a really strong Pokemon. It has a lot of good moves, so I do think a couple other good ones you want to put on here is like I said, Taunt is a really good option. If you want to run a more physical attacking one, you could put Play Rough on here instead if you like to as well. So there's a couple of decent options you could definitely put onto your Galarian Weezing. Now, I do think Alolan Muck is another decent option too, with Terra Poison with the item Shell Bell. I'm running max HP with max defense. You can run, I have max special or a plus special defense nature, but I think that was supposed to be defense. But Acid Spray, Clear Smog, Mud Slap, and Snarl. So Acid Spray, once again, if it does have bulletproof, this will not work, but you can always replace this with something else. But the important moves is Clear Smog to remove any of the stat changes. Mud Slap to lower that accuracy, which is actually huge in general. And then you have Snarl that will lower its special attack stat. So I do think this is a really strong Pokemon. Unfortunately, you are going to be neutral to fighting, so just keep that in mind. But that's why you want to Terra as quickly as possible, so then you can resist fighting, which is going to be pretty decent. And the last support I want to show off is Mew. If I was to pick any Terra type for Mew, I do think Fairy is overall the best, but Psychic works as well. Ignore the Steel on have it, I just didn't change it for the video. But with the Shell Bell and max HP, max defense with a bold nature. And I do think some of the best move set is probably Chilling Water and Struggle Bug. You can lower its physical attack stat, Struggle Bug to lower its special attack stat. Both of them are 100% accurate, which is really nice. You have Mud Slap to lower that accuracy, so it just won't hit anyone. And then to debuff it, you do have Acid Spray. Once again, if Acid Spray doesn't work, Mew can learn every other TM in the game. So if you want to have Taunt on here, you could put Taunt instead of Acid Spray or any other, like Reflect, Light Screen, things like that. A lot of good options for Mew. But there we have it, guys. That's going to be all the raid builds that I recommend in my predictions video for the 7-star Kommo-o raid. Stay tuned for any other videos I cover on this raid boss. I will be live streaming this boss on Thursday, and we're going to be going over these builds I cover here and any other builds that I acquire up until that point. I'm going to see if I can potentially make a one-hit or one-turn KO, so hopefully I can cook up something like that. And then when the raid comes out, I will have a new video featuring the best solo builds. So stay tuned. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, support my work by becoming a channel member. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out and have a good one.